Objective Analysis Eden Zero Edition. Let's get it. Welcome back, everybody. If you guys have been on the channel from the jump, you guys should know that I drop objective analysis videos every week of series that I've watched or read. Today we're going to be talking about Eden Zero, which I have recently caught up with as a series, and we're going to be diving into the 5 categories as always: world building, characters, plot, themes, and art/animation. So let's dive right into them. Now, I do like to change it up for the categories, of course, and today we're going to be starting off with the art. Now, I'm reading the manga, not watching the anime, so I have no opinions on the anime itself. The art for the manga of Eden Zero is actually done very well. Mashima is one of the most stellar artists I've seen, period, and I think that's something we all can admit. It's hard for me to give straight 10s for it. I have a very high scale with stuff I've seen that I do believe are 10s, but I would give Mashima a 9 out of 10 in terms of their art, because that thing is absolutely beautiful, despite the repetitive nature of Fairy Tail, Rave Master, and Eden Zero, and some styles of choices of characters especially. Regardless, the art is still fantastic, so a 9 out of 10 is definitely deserving. With that said, let's dive into the characters themselves. The characters of Eden Zero are multifaceted. There are plenty, especially with the main core cast. We got the leading man himself, Shiki, which is actually a decently okay main character. He's very simple in this fact that he wants to make friends, he cares about friends, protecting his friends. Very simplistic nature, and I definitely want to see his development going forward. He's not the craziest and most complex main character, but he's a good driving force character, of course. Other characters we got is Rebecca, a female lead who has been holding her own with a very interesting power herself. I'm going to refrain from telling too many manga spoilers, but if you guys are scared of manga spoilers, you may want to click off this video. Rebecca is a strong lead, though she's not completely useless like a lot of female leads we've seen time and time again. She has her own abilities, her own strengths, and her own weaknesses as a character, and it seems like her role may be bigger for the story than we initially have thought. Another great character for the main cast, of course, is Wise, or Waze. I'm going with Wise here. Wise Steiner. He's a scientist type who's kind of shifty, who has questionable morals, but he's always there when you need him. You got Homura, of course, which is a character who showed up later on in the series, and has a good, strong passion for becoming stronger, training, being a swordsman, and you know, she's very innocent as well, and she always says things that are on her mind out loud, which is a very cute thing for a character, of course. And then obviously we got the 4 shining stars that have been a huge help to Shiki and the rest of the crew, with Witch, with Sister, with Hermit. All great characters in their own right, and what they provide for the story is also very good for sure. There's other great characters when it comes down to the series as well, with the Yall, Interstellar, both huge groups in themselves, very powerful components that play into the overall story. And the villains have been pretty good thus far, with probably the biggest ones being Shura, and some spoiler ones that I don't want to technically reveal because this seems like a very interesting thing they're going for there. A lot of them have a very interesting personalities, their own goals, their own themes going on with their character. So far I would say Eden Zero has done a great job in their characters and making them various, giving them a lot of variety. I think the weakest point so far is Shiki as a main character, but he definitely has room to grow. So far I'll give the characters a 7 out of 10. Next, let's go with the plot itself. The plot definitely reminds me of a very goal-oriented, typical shonen story, with their goal centrally being finding Mother, a big entity in the Eden Zero universe. Now, there are side plots here and there that come into the overall story as well, but that's where this story is driving towards as they try to find Mother, fend off these forces, and as the world is interacting with them and how they react to the rest of the world as well. The plot is interesting in that way, and I do like shonen battles, shonen especially, that have a center plot that they are going to go towards, but there are differing factors that play onto them as well. With the newer villain that has been introduced and how his connection with Shiki is going to play for the story moving forward, how there's this big big entity that nobody can do anything against, that is destroying the universe, that eventually they have to go against as well. How there's two big organizations with morally ambiguous characters on both sides, to see how that they will fend them both off while as the story progresses. There's a lot of different elements of the plot as it moves forward, which makes it pretty interesting. I definitely need more behind the surface level stuff, of course, but for an entertaining battle shonen, I definitely give it credit. I also give it a 7 out of 10. Now, when it comes down to the world building of Eden Zero, I do think this is their highest point. Honestly, they have done an amazing job. They give me a lot of One Piece vibes, like a lot of things that they're doing now with the kind of pirate ship aesthetic. Everything's in space, so obviously it's kind of pirates in space in this specific situation, as they want to go find Mother. Hashtag the One Piece. You feel me? I'm not saying it's a carbon copy or a ripoff, but I can definitely see some inspiration behind that similar premise. It's a huge universe with there's multiple universes having their own themes. Of course, different worlds and different planets with different societies and different political structures that make it very interesting no matter where the characters go. So I think the world is magnificent in terms of how Mashima kind of elaborated it, and I do think there's so much more potential for it to grow. And the power system also goes along with world building, is how I'm kind of portraying a lot of these videos. And for the power system, I do think it's done a pretty good job thus far. Ether gear seems to be pretty interesting, a power within a lot of different individuals. Ether being basically magic is how they kind of pronounced it, how there's a different evolution that they can go into depending on how much ether and how well they utilize the ether itself, how there's so many different types of ether out there, whether it's gravity, whether it's using machines, using swords, or even more with time. You know, that's kind of a spoiler thing, but time ether is kind of broken, let me tell you. There is nothing too complex with utilizing ether, it's just like mastering it for the most part, and the battles themselves play into each other very well, as there is some sort of strategy and knowing how to use the ether properly, but for the most part they're not the most complex battles by any means, they're just fun for the most part. So with that said, with everything that Mashima has done thus far, for the world building, I'll give a personal 8 out of 10. And last but not least is the themes of Eden Zero. Themes haven't been the craziest thing by any means, a lot of like power friendship type stuff, but it hasn't taken away from what I've read and what I've enjoyed thus far. One of the biggest things is what is human, what has a heart, and all that stuff, as there are humans and machines being the two primary races that we talk about in Eden Zero. Whether a machine should be treated like he's human, whether he should be treated like he's a living being, and why some humans are less than a living being, a human being, so to speak. So the aspect of humanity, the aspect of friendship, the aspect of love is a very important element of Eden Zero that is, you know, definitely touches on the heartstrings, but again, it's nothing too complex. So with that said, I would give the themes a 6 out of 10, nothing too crazy. So after I total all the categories up into one overall rating for Eden Zero, I came up with, drumrolls please, a 7.4 out of 10. A pretty good rating, of course. You know, it's higher than a 7, which is a pretty good in my opinion, with 5 being average, 0 being trash, or 1 being trash, and 10 being perfect. 7.4 out of 10 at this stage of the series is not bad. So with that said, this is my objective analysis for Eden Zero. I personally like it, I enjoyed it, of course, and I do wish it to evolve more and more as the series continues. Hope you guys enjoyed this objective analysis. Let me know the next series you want me to do. Take care and peace.